Maha Yahya is the director of the Carnegie Middle East Center. She joins us now live from Lebanon's capital, Beirut. Maha, great to have you with us. What do you make of this announcement from Israel?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Frankly, we'd been expecting it over the last few weeks. Various Israeli politicians and others have made the comment that they will not be fully withdrawing from Lebanon. There was talk about maintaining control over 3 or 4 hilltops on the Lebanese side of the border, but from what we're hearing now, this has gone beyond that, and they intend to remain, in a zone on the border and continue carrying out military activity, which is what they've been doing over the past 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, and the IDF says it was the withdrawal was conditional upon the Lebanese army deploying in southern Lebanon, and they say that that had not been fully enforced by Lebanon. What do you make of that?
No, the army has been deploying. I don't know that it has been able to deploy in the numbers that they had agreed to, but definitely there's been a surge in Lebanese army deployment to the southern border. This has been managed with the Lebanese army, but also the committee that is overseeing the ceasefire itself. The other challenge is that on the Israeli side, there have been continued military operations, both within the zone that they're currently occupying, blowing up houses, amongst other things, but also outside that zone. So it's been a ceasefire. It's holding. But it's tenuous in a sense. And this extension of the ceasefire now is another indication that, from what I see, is that the government in Israel, I think, intends to use this as a bargaining chip to get something else out of it at some point down the road. But otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
What do you think they're trying to get out of it? What are you expecting?
We don't quite know. I mean, the President Trump has just taken office in the U.S. We need to wait and see what his policies towards the region will be, towards Iran, towards Syria, towards Lebanon. So it's a mixed bag, so to speak. But what we've seen is that Israel has expanded its territorial occupation, if you like. Whether it's in Syria, it's now occupying 500 square kilometers. We're hearing that they're setting up military bases on the Syrian side of the border. This is not the Golan Heights. This is within Syria proper, but also on the Lebanese side, yes.
It's very interesting, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. I want to talk about newly elected President Joseph Aoun, and who has made it very clear that he wants to break with a decades-old unwritten policy to preserve Hezbollah's militant wing, which has been de facto tasked with facing off against Israeli forces. What do you think his strategy is going to be in dealing with this extension of Israel saying it wants to maintain a presence in southern Lebanon?
I think what we're hearing now is they want to extend the ceasefire by another month. Most likely there will be some back and forth and some negotiation over this. But if there's a time frame where it's in 1 month and that's it, and this will require American pressure, the Israelis will not withdraw. Israel will not withdraw from southern Lebanon without real American pressure by the United States for it to honor its agreement and get out. I think that the Lebanese will be able to work with that. The danger is if this continues, these extensions continues, then it makes the job of Lebanon's newly elected president, Joseph Aoun, but also the newly designated Prime Minister, Nawaf Salam, even more difficult, because it gives credence to the argument that resistance is needed against Israeli occupation.
So, you mentioned President Trump, and if you look at his pick for UN ambassador who answered yes to a question about biblical rights to territories not only in Lebanon, but Syria and other parts of the region, we just don't know what the Trump administration is going to do. But interesting that his very first call to a foreign leader was the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And I'm sure everyone's trying to assess where all of this is going to land and what it's ultimately going to mean for Iran and its proxies and for Lebanon and Hezbollah.
I think, I mean, again, I agree with you. The picks of President Trump, of those who will be dealing with the region, are, I mean, if you look at his pick for Assistant Secretary of Defense, and as you mentioned, the UN ambassador, they have very different instincts, whether it's vis-a-vis Iran or vis-a-vis the region. They're all very pro-Israeli, of course. There is a pro-settlement movement, annexation, if you like, of the West Bank. But then you get into a contradiction, because if the ultimate goal is normalization between the between Israel and Saudi Arabia, then it's incredibly difficult, if not impossible, for Saudi Arabia to normalize with Israel whilst annexation of the West Bank and of Palestinian land is taking place. The Crown Prince has made it very clear that minus a two-state solution, minus a political horizon for the Palestinians, Saudi Arabia cannot normalize with Israel. So I think there's a conundrum there. If President Trump wants to bring peace to the region, he's going to have to deal with very contradictory instincts and very contradictory pushes by the people around him.
Maha Yahya, thank you so much for your time and your insights. Good to see you.